Hello, Henry from Belgium here. Today I'm taking a look at LEGO Set 6261, Raft Raiders, released in 1992. This is a small set with just over 70 pieces and 3 minifigures, and at first glance, it may seem like a simple addition to the theme. Still, it's a set that becomes more interesting when you take a closer look, especially because of the part selection, the construction of the raft, and a few specific elements. It's not a flagship set, but it is a very typical pirate set, designed to complement the larger ships and island builds. Unfortunately, I don't have the original box for this set. These days, it's quite difficult to find one in really good condition, and most of the time, you'll only come across it through other collectors who ask a high price for it. For this review, I've looked up a few photos online, and you can immediately tell that this is early 1990s LEGO artwork. The classic Legoland logo has already been replaced by the word system, and the purple borders are very characteristic of that era. You also see the familiar Pirates presentation that's been there from the beginning, sandy colors and subtle map-style details. It's instantly recognizable and sets the mood right away. Even though this is a small set, the back of the box still offers a few nice suggestions for alternate builds. At first glance, the manual looks like a compact booklet, roughly 15.5 by 11 centimeters. In reality though, it's a large poster-style instruction sheet that's folded down. Personally, I find that a bit less convenient to work with, because once it's fully open, it takes up almost half of my table. On the front, you see the minifigures, along with 9 clear building steps laid out in sequence. The remaining steps and the finished model are shown on the back. In total, there are 15 building steps. It's also interesting to briefly mention that this set shares quite a few similarities with 6257 Castaway's Raft from 1989. That said, 6261 feels a bit more interesting to me and slightly more elaborate in terms of part selection. Here you can immediately see what makes this set stand out, a combination of classic Pirates elements paired with very basic bricks and plates. I'll go into the minifigures in more detail later on, but for now I want to highlight a small selection of parts that immediately catch the eye. The oars are typical Pirates elements from this period, most commonly found in red and brown. In this set, the oar is red, which creates a nice color contrast against the brown of the raft. A well-known issue with these parts is stress marks, and this is actually representative of how the majority of oars are found in second-hand sets. Unfortunately, those stress marks can't be removed. They are permanent damage to the plastic. Examples without these marks are therefore highly sought after and not easy to find unless you buy them new. On the other hand, they do clearly show the authenticity of the part and make it obvious that these are pieces that are more than 30 years old. Later versions of these oars do exist as well, including variants in reddish-brown and even white, which appear in sets from the later 2000s. The white 2x2 square flag with the Jolly Roger print on both sides is another iconic Pirates element. Broken clips are a common issue with this part, but fortunately I have a very nice example here. The print is still crisp and the white hasn't yellowed, which makes this piece quite valuable in this condition. The shark in this set is the classic dark grey Lego shark with a pointed nose and recessed eyes, a type Lego used from the late 1980s into the early 1990s. You don't only find it in pirate sets from that period, but also in a number of town and aquazone sets, always in situations where water and danger play a role. Within this set, the shark isn't just an extra animal, it's an essential part of the play function. Without the shark, the raft is simply a floating platform, but with the shark present, it immediately becomes a dangerous situation. It's a part that adds nothing to the build itself, but everything to the play value. Inside the treasure chest are the classic chrome gold coins. These coins were introduced by LEGO in 1989 and were originally supplied together on a sprue during the early Pirates era. In practice, once a set has been played with, you almost never find them still attached to that sprue. The treasure chest itself is the classic Pirates chest with slots in the back, That detail matters, because the earliest LEGO treasure chests had no slots at all. These mast rigging pieces are instantly recognizable, but in this set we're dealing with the shorter variant, which appears in relatively few sets. The larger version, for example the one used in Forbidden Island, is much more familiar and far more common. The short version measures about 12 centimeters, while the larger one comes in at roughly 21.5 centimeters. And then, of course, there's this beautiful little sail. This is the part that really defines the look of the set, and it absolutely needs to be present. It's set exclusive, which makes it a unique piece, and therefore quite valuable. As with many cloth elements, condition is everything. My example has clearly seen some use, but that doesn't really bother me. A mint condition sail is obviously more valuable, but personally, I like the fact that this one shows a bit of wear and tells a story of actual play. That said, it still needs to be within reason. If a sail is badly worn, stained, or has torn attachment holes, I would replace it. These cloth sails can also be carefully washed and even gently ironed to improve their appearance. The original rope is at least just as important. It's the correct 35 centimeter version, and you can immediately see and feel that this is an original LEGO piece. In about 90% of cases, this part is either replaced with a non-LEGO string or missing altogether. The best way to judge authenticity is by comparing it with other ropes from the same period. Once you have that reference in mind, it becomes much easier to recognize correct examples when you're collecting or checking future sets. All of these details and the overall condition make the difference between having a regular LEGO set and having something that's genuinely collectible. And of course, we also need to talk about the minifigures, because they contribute a lot to the value of this set as well. Depending on the figure and the condition, some of them can easily be worth tens of euros on their own. It's also interesting to note that in some regions this set is catalogued under the name Iron Hook's Escape Craft. That name refers to the pirate with the hook. However, that name is never officially confirmed by LEGO, unlike characters such as Captain Redbeard, who is clearly presented as the iconic figure and main face of the pirate's theme. Here as well, condition is important. Clean, sharp prints, no cracks in the torsos or arms, and the correct heads and headgear. What's also interesting about this group of 3 minifigures is that they're not the classic first-generation pirates you immediately associate with the very earliest sets featuring Captain Redbeard and the typical blue sailor. The base of the raft consists of 2 2x8 plates and a large 2x8 brick, complemented by 4 1x2 bricks. On top of that comes a clever construction made up of a combination of brown barrels and LEGO Technic parts. The whole assembly is finished off with 2 large 4x10 plates. The base is solid, without the entire structure falling apart. What I like here is that this design can actually be used in 2 different ways. In the configuration as it's built now, the raft sits in a kind of resting position and the barrels don't touch the table. But if you remove the 2 plates underneath, the raft can rest on the barrels, allowing it to slide smoothly across a table or any flat surface. On top of this base, quite a few light old grey plates are added. Here you can clearly see differences in condition and some discoloration, which is always a bit unfortunate if you want to use the set as a display piece. In the future, I'll likely replace these with better examples. For now, the most important thing is to make sure no bluish-grey parts get mixed in. The design of the rudder is a nice extra play feature. I've seen this solution used in other sets as well, often in combination with a hinge. The mast element itself is a relatively rare part, and in certain colors, like red, blue, and grey, it becomes even rarer, with each color variant appearing in just a single set. In some other sets, it's used together with a turntable brick, which could have added an interesting extra function here as well. Next, a single modified brick with studs on all 4 sides is used, in combination with plates with U-clips, allowing the rigging elements to be clipped on easily. The sail is attached at the top using a weapon lance, and at the bottom with the rope. Looking at it now, a rope length of 35 centimeters is more than sufficient for this build, but I always recommend never cutting the ends. A rope at full length can still be useful later on for alternative builds. I also have a good tip for attaching the flag. Never push it straight onto the antenna. Instead, always slide it on from the top down. That way, you avoid damage and reduce the risk of the clips breaking. For me, 6261 is one of those sets you only fully appreciate once you've actually built it correctly. Not because it's complex, but because it shows how effective the Pirates theme can be with very limited means. Everything that's here serves a purpose. The raft is stable enough to handle play, yet the moment the key elements are in place, it instantly reads as Pirates. That's exactly why this set is often underestimated. You don't buy it for its size, you buy it for its atmosphere, its part choices, and how recognizable it is. It works perfectly alongside larger ships and island builds, it plays well, and it includes just the right selection of classic Pirates elements that define the theme. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like or a comment. And if you want to see more of my collection, subscribe to the channel. It's completely free. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.